SCORE Northeast Wisconsin and WHBY are pleased to bring you Biztalk, a chance for you to hear from entrepreneurs and professionals as they share their experiences. From starting to sustaining growth, learn the skills needed for your business to be successful. If you miss anything, you can catch the Biztalk podcast at score.org/Northeast Wisconsin. And now from the Myron Construction Studio, it's Biztalk on WHBY.
Good morning and welcome to Biz Talk on WHBY. I'm Rick Sense, and I have special guest host Keith. I just overwhelmed with emotion. Keith Keller with us today, and the reason why I'm so happy that Keith is joining us is Keith is one of my favorite people in all of SCORE Northeast Wisconsin's chapter. Keith was my mentor/trainer when I first started in SCORE, so it's always great to see you and get caught up with you, Keith. So welcome.
Thank you, Rick. Happy to be here.
Great. We have an interesting show today, at least I'd like to think we do. We have Clara and Larry Hedrich from a whole bunch of businesses, and I'm not going to get into that too much of that. I'm going to let them talk about that in just a moment. But they bring a lot of experience and a lot of interesting background to the program today. So with that, we'll get started, and we'll start off by going into the Wayback Machine to start the show today. It's late 1970s. And Larry and Clara, you're both eager to return to your rural roots. Can you share with listeners what you were doing up to that point and why did you want to return to rural America?
At that point in time, I had just graduated from college and started a teaching job in Chilton. And my husband to be was working construction. And one of the things we talked about before we got married was how we would like to raise our future children. And one of the things was we felt that having them raised on a farm would give them that work ethic that we felt would be the most beneficial thing that we could give them for the rest of their lives. So with that being said, we purchased a little farm just outside of Chilton. And as the story goes, we had first, our investment was into the electrical pole. And then after that, if you took a look around, we had a flock of chickens, 2 peacocks, and 2 goats, dairy goats. And that's kind of where we began our journey.
Yeah, and essentially, we had bought a place that used to be a beef operation, but the buildings were tired. And over time, we've replaced everything except the house and garage. And so it's been a steady evolution of creating what we think that needs to happen to take advantage of the opportunities that are out there. Because we have small acreage, is beef or sheep or hogs never seem to, or dairy, cows, never seemed to be the direction that would make sense. But goats always did. And so that kind of took us in a direction right from before we were even married, and it's evolved into many, many things involving goats.
Okay, so you bought your hobby farm in the heart of America's dairyland in Calumet County, Wisconsin. And in addition to the hobby farm, you mentioned some chickens, peacocks, but 2 goats. Can maybe just walk us through that a little bit and how those goats kind of impacted things for you as you went forward?
One of the things that we've always had an interest in goats. It was just one of those things that both Larry and I just happened to like. And so we kind of looked around, like what can you do with goats? And basically in those early 80s, what you needed to do was to milk your goat, make your product, and then convince you, the consumer, you would love my product. And back in the 80s, some of the goat products just weren't that great. And so we felt at that point in time, we're in the midst of starting our family. I am working full-time as a high school agriculture instructor, and my husband, Larry, is working full-time as an area superintendent for a construction company where he built bridges, retrofitted paper mills, and cheese plants. And we just felt at that point in our life that really wasn't the best fit for us. And so we did the next best thing, where we did those great family vacations, where you put all the children in the station wagon and each year you went to a different state. And as we explored within that state, we always did something goat related. And our children's eyes probably still roll back in their heads when they think of those wonderful goat excursions. But what we learned was, hey, you folks in Wisconsin have it all. And basically, we've got the Center for Dairy Research, because if you're in the goat world, you really have to do research on your own dime. They're willing to do some research in the milk there. We had, folks, a plant in Texas said, oh, we buy all of our equipment out of, Stolting, out of, Kiel, Wisconsin. And if you look around, we're located in Calumet County, and there are more dairy cows in Calumet County than there are people. And the interesting thing is we have a beautiful dairy cow infrastructure here in Wisconsin, very easy to piggyback that dairy goat world upon it. And so, as our children now are reaching, that magic age of where they can't wait to leave home, we said, hey, folks, if you're ever interested in getting back into the industry, back into agriculture, let us know. And so with that being said, our children, 4 of our 5 children chose to come back into business with us. Our oldest daughter, Anna, has a degree from UW River Falls in dairy science. She managed dairy cow herds anywhere from 60 on up to 3,000. When we were milking at LaClare, she managed the 850 head that we were milking there. And then now we have retrofitted our home facilities back into raising baby goats. And so she oversees our kid facility. And when we're full, we run about 2,500 babies. And then our son has a degree from UW Stout in technical education, and he taught at Rosendale, Laconia, and Greg is currently involved with the plant management. He's always been on the plant side. He very much enjoys the systems, the efficiencies, those kinds of things. Third in line is a daughter who has a degree from UW or Northern Michigan in marketing, and she was our head cheesemaker at LaClare for a number of years. And she also won the U.S. Cheese Championship back in 2011. And one of the things that Katie and her husband Jeff really wanted to raise their children in a small family business. So the Salkert's Meat Market came up for sale. And so they purchased Salkert's Meat Market and are continuing to grow that business. Fourth in line is a daughter who has a degree from UW River Falls in agribusiness. And her focus was always graphic arts. And so she did our point of sale materials, our website. She also had some experience in retail and in the cafe. And so she managed that end of the business. And then she went on to, she's working in for Forefront Dermatology in the graphic arts department. Fifth in line is the daughter who had graduated, Heather, from UW Whitewater in Human Resource Management. And she was always on speed dial. So if you can imagine, I always say the Lord had his hand in it, because if you look at 4 of the 5 children being in business with their parents and all of the different career paths they had chosen, her job was always, the insight in the likes. And so as we have evolved, and I'm going to let Larry take it from there.
Well, and everything changes in life. I mean, when we started out back in 1996 with milking goats, compared to where we are today, this many years later, it's just been monumental changes. And so each of our children have evolved into different things that intrigue them more, and they're raising their own families and all that type of thing. So, that's crucial for them to be able to seek what works best there instead of being forced into do any one thing. Because then I don't think it would work at all.
That's incredible that you started with 2 goats and you have how many that you're milking now?
Well, Calumet, I should say, when we look at the overall population of the dairy goats, Wisconsin leads the nation in the number of milk goats. We have 74,000 here in the state. The next state over, California, has a mere 38,000, down to Texas at 22,000, and Iowa actually has 26,000. And we look at Calumet County right now as America's dairy goat capital. In 2005, we started a cooperative, and I'm going to let Larry talk to you a little bit about that cooperative.
Well, right now, just with Calumet County and the number of goats here, we've got 2 substantial sized milking herds that are part of the business. Plus the co-op is we've got over 100 family farms of every different size you can imagine. So all of it is family businesses, and all of it depends one thing upon the other, because a dairy farm without a place to sell the milk isn't going to survive, and a cheese plant without the dairy farms isn't going to survive. So that's been really a huge part of everything we've been involved in, is finding ways to make everything work, whether it was adding partners in order to grow things or what we needed to do. We've worked to do that throughout time.
Okay. Well, just to kind of review for our listeners, the extent of your enterprise, and I think it's pretty phenomenal. We know you're raising goats, you're milking goats, you've got a creamery where you turn that goat milk into cheese, you've got distribution of that cheese through retailers like Pick and Save and Festival Foods and other outlets. You sell it online. You have a cafe at the creamery, so you're in the restaurant business too. You've got a garden center there where you're growing and selling plants. You've got essentially a petting zoo there for the goats for people to come and visit. You can do public and private events there. I think you've got events going on this Easter weekend there that I saw. You sell goat meat through your retail operation. You sell that online as well. What am I missing here? I mean, this is a vertically integrated enterprise that starts with the goats and ends at Festival Foods and a lot of other places. What other business are you in that I missed there?
We also do some milk hauling with the goat industry. There's just small scale of some milk that we do haul. Them far and away, the majority comes through subcontracted haulers that are running a quad axle or even a semi picking up with milk. But we've got a small trailer that we use that'll take milk. For instance, we might be going down to Center for Dairy Research with a load, or might be helping out a sheep farm that they don't have enough volume to be able to put it onto a quad axle. It'd be like when we started with the goats, is our first milk that we hauled to a cheese plant. We were kidding the driver, did we even get the entire bottom of the truck wet? Because it's such a small amount in those days to get going. So it's just a lot of different, as you said, vertically integrated pieces, whether it's the meat or use of the milk and the cheese.
Clara, do you look at Larry sometimes and think about where you started and where this business has developed to? Look at him at some point and say, is this getting a little out of hand? I mean, with all the businesses you're in, or is it more like, hey, you know what else we could do?
Well, the bottom line is I never think about it unless somebody asks me that question, because you're always looking at what makes sense. What's the next step? Mm-hmm. Because, when you're looking at the great big picture, you have to be thinking about efficiencies and how you can get that to move forward.
Yeah. So take those opportunities.
Correct.
All right. And with that, we're going to take our first break. You're listening to Biztalk with Score on WHBY, and we'll be right back after these messages. Welcome back to Biztalk with Score on WHBY. I'm Rick Sense, along with special guest host today, Keith Keller, and exciting and interesting program today with we have Larry and Clara Hedrich. And Larry and Clara, we didn't really do the service of giving you an opportunity to list the many enterprises you are actually part of. We talked about them, but we didn't give them names. So would you be willing to come back and give us some names that go along with that, please?
Certainly. We started out with LaClare Farms, and that comes from, and that was right here in Chilton, Wisconsin. That's where we started milking our dairy herd. And LaClare comes from Larry and Clara, the combined names. And then we evolved to the Quality Dairy Goat Cooperative of Wisconsin. We formed that next because that was the entity, because we always basically marketing the milk, getting the best dollar for the farmer. From there, we decided to put that all together. Larry decided we needed to add value to the milk. And so we ended up creating LaClare Family Creamery, which now, if you go onto the website, it is LaClare Creamery, and that's located in Pike, Wisconsin. And that is under one roof. You can find the animals, and then there's a viewing room that you can see the animals from, and then there's a cafe. There is the retail space, and then you can look into the plant and see the operation of the plant. Along with that, KidFarm Transport became a part of the business, and that was basically being able to pick up milk from smaller farms and then transporting it to artisan cheese plants that needed smaller quantities of milk where it didn't make sense to bring in that large truck. And right after that, we created what we called the KidFarm. So we retrofitted our home space here to raise baby goats, and that's located at Chilton, Wisconsin. And our current entity that we're working on is called Calanna Specialty Foods. And Calanna is basically, if you take a look at, my middle name is Anna, Larry's middle name is Ellen. And so looking for a name, and when you are in agritourism, which, overall is the capsule there, you're always looking for that story behind it. So that is our meat portion of our business. And I'll let Larry add in what I forgot.
No, I think that's pretty much covers what we're doing. But as you can see, each piece of it started out with a goat, but unless you have the other pieces to add to it, it's hard to make any money at it. And that's something that we really felt was something that had to happen. A lot of people have herds of goats that they do for a hobby or they do it strictly for show. And it ends up being a place to invest a lot of money instead of getting money out of. And so creating these different entities, we felt were necessities in order to capture the business side of the goats.
So now all these operations really started around the kitchen table, did they not?
Yes, that's, like the co-op, where we run about a little over 100 family farms, the headquarters is the kitchen table, because obviously we want the farmers to get the best price for their milk, and we want to keep the overhead low. So Larry is the co-op manager. He started as a co-op manager, the field man. He continues to do that. And I currently do the bookkeeping for the co-op.
So when you're starting out and you're sitting at the kitchen table and you developed your first business plan, you envisioned all of this, correct?
Well, when we started in 1996, we finally were able to secure a market to sell goat milk. And so it started where we'd milk maybe 80, possibly 100 goats. And I knew if we got up to 150, we'd be set forever. And so that's how it actually began. And then as you started living that life, I worked full time in construction as we were beginning the farm. And then I decided to quit my construction job in in June. And then we had 9/11 a few months later, and I was sitting in the parlor listening to the radio going, what kind of world am I in? You know, what did I do? I gave up a good job, and now I don't know what's going on. So, I mean, there's so many things that evolve through your life and your life process. That's kind of where it all started with the goat farm, but we were hauling all of the milk across the state. We did have one cheesemaker that would buy goat milk, but when you add a 400-mile round trip virtually every time that you need to take a small load of goat milk, it became a real challenge. And, you know, that was all the milk that the co-op was producing would fit in my trailer. And so we'd haul it over there, and that kind of is how it all came together. That was 2005, and as we were evolving through that, it's like, well, we need to add value. And so then that's how the Creamery came about, is unless we would have something in northeast Wisconsin, we're going to be locked into hauling a little bit a long ways all the time, and it's never going to work well. And then that evolved into the Creamery growing. We couldn't get enough milk. We took on partners that would help us to secure a lot of goat milk very locally, and that mattered a lot to getting the Creamery up and going. But then we had all the young stock where we had to take care of all these buck kids to raise ethically. We have to, you know, you got to take good care of the animals that are born. And we felt we definitely could do that. So that's how the KidFarm came about. And so we raised the kids there. And well, when you've got all the goats that are not going to be dairy animals, that's how the meat came about. So you just keep working your way through each necessary piece, and you always keep looking at the horizon to see what's coming next.
All right. We've hit our time for our second break for today. You're listening to Biztalk with Score on WHBY, and we'll be right back after these words. Welcome back to Biztalk with Score on WHBY. I'm Rick Sense, and with us today are guests Larry and Clara Hedrich from LaClare Creamery, KidFarm, Calanna Specialty Foods, and there's many, many others, organizations. But before we turn the show back over to Keith, I am going to go ahead and just give everybody an update about what is Score Northeast Wisconsin. Score Northeast Wisconsin serves an 18-county area in Northeast Wisconsin, plus the county of Menominee in Michigan. We have over 50 volunteers, each an expert in their field, no cost and confidential mentoring. Those areas of expertise include IT, social media, marketing, cash flow, accounting, strategic planning, workflow, human resources, retail best practices, and many, many others. In order to register for a no-cost confidential mentoring session and or to learn more about Score Northeast Wisconsin, please visit our website at score.org/Northeast Wisconsin. You can learn more about how the Score chapter can assist you with starting and or growing your business, and you can complete an application for a mentoring session. Simply complete the online form and submit it to Score. Within a few days, a Score mentor will be contacting you to set up a meeting. Remember, Score is no cost and offers experts who can offer you assistance in many different areas. To get started, visit our website at score.org/Northeast Wisconsin. To support small business people, Score Northeast Wisconsin is always looking for new mentors. If you have experience that you would like to share with others, we'd love to talk to you. We welcome volunteers with experience in all aspects of business. Small business owners need your help, and your experience can make a real difference to their success. Go to score.org/Northeast Wisconsin, click on the volunteer button, and fill out the short application, and we'll get back to you to explain more. So thanks again for joining us on BizTalk this morning. And Keith, I'll turn the show over to you.
Okay. Well, welcome back, everybody. Clara and Larry, you are a husband and wife team that started out this business really sounded like part-time, right? Clara, you were teaching school as an ag teacher. Larry's working construction. And as the business evolved, you guys finally went full-time into this enterprise. And you both are bringing obviously different skills and talents to the operation and the growth of this business. Why don't you talk a little bit about your different skills, talents, your backgrounds that are complementary and supportive of one another as you built this enterprise? Because we run into a lot of folks that it's a husband and wife team running a business.
Well, I started out where I was in a lot of heavy and highway construction and then more industrial construction, but it was essentially where you're always more or less off on your own. I was project manager, area superintendent, depending on where it was and whatnot at the time, but it was all the way from the UP of Michigan to central Wisconsin, or till the middle of Wisconsin, and then east and west across the state. So it creates kind of an independence in the training that I had, but yes, yet a collaboration. I had to be independent because I didn't have help readily available. If we ran into a problem, you had to solve it immediately with the team that you had. But collaboration that I knew, I worked with London. It was a fairly large company, but you knew people with all the different talents that you could tap into to help you resolve or solve a problem and get through things. So, that was, good. I did that for about 20 years before I, launched full time into the farm and the dairy eventually. And then also I had done things like I was on school board locally for 12 years. And I'm just finishing up, 2 terms on the American Cheese Society National, board. So there's things like that you collaborate with for instance, on ACS, you collaborate with cheese plants all the way across the United States to understand who's doing what and how they're doing it. And really talking about all the different things that people do to solve problems. And, milk supply for goats particularly is always an issue. And in the Midwest, we've probably been able to do the best job of that across the United States, is trying to help put it together. But we've got great farming area around here that really makes a difference on that.
So my background, obviously high school education, a strong education background. I have a master's degree. And basically, reading people skills. I do the events and the tours, a lot of agritourism. So basically I could read I have the skill set to read the crowd, kind of feed them the information that they need, so that they walk away with a real positive experience. And then, I'm just not going to say this in a negative sense. Larry hates paperwork. And so needless to say, as a teacher, I had the golden opportunity to fill out and do a lot of paperwork. So that's my skill set. We have taken use of grants. And so, I'll work on that end, pull it together. Larry will have the site where we want to go, the foresight. And then, just kind of as a team, we work it forward in that respect. So.
That's great. And never have any confrontation, right? I mean, it's always a smooth operation, no arguments or anything, right?
Never.
Never.
That's the great part about having a farm or a garage, is when you need to be getting something else done.
That's good. Hey, where do you think this entrepreneurial spirit came from? I mean, you both seem to have it. And of course, that's kind of a superpower, I think, that you guys have. Where do you think that came from? Is there any of that in your heritage, your ancestry, anything like that?
One of my grandfathers was a farmer,
Mm-hmm.
and then went down. My dad and my other grandpa were in construction, and so kind of went through that. From World War II, my one grandpa had traveled around the United States building air bases, and so I don't know, maybe some of it came from there, but it's just we've always enjoyed the challenge of what's next, and and that's worked. And part of what I think has worked well for us is our children deciding what they wanted to do that was different, but then bringing back skills that we don't have and being able to utilize them in what we're trying to do. And I mean, they're so much better on computer and things like that than my generation. And then their thought process is different than ours. Is we have some interesting discussions about what should happen or what's going to happen.
And I hail from a dairy cow farm, and both sides were dairy cow farmers in the North Woods. So needless to say, you had to figure out how to make a living. And teaching is always problem solving, is salesmanship. And I think one of the biggest things is willing to take a risk, because you're not sure, is it going to work or not? You never know. We certainly have a team. We work with Compeer Financial as our financial team, and they have been very supportive, very helpful. They're willing to think outside the box, because really what we're doing, that's kind of what you need to do, is think outside the box. How are you going to get this done? Rather than I can't do it, you have to just think about how you are going to get it done.
Right. And you talked about the involvement of your adult children in the business and different important roles that they have, but you must have a pretty substantial staff beyond the family working in your businesses. How many employees overall do you have?
The business started out with 6 to 8 people, so primarily all family and a couple hired folks. Mm-hmm. And as it has evolved as management, when you look at, you keep handing your hats off. Right now, when I do tours, I use the number 80 on staff in the plant phase of it, and that does not include the partner farms. So any of the farm staff is not included in that number.
Wow.
So yes, very much so.
And that handing off hats, has that been difficult? Kind of going from the player to coach kind of role, where you have to delegate some of the responsibilities that you've had in the past, either to family or to other employees. Has that been a difficult thing, or has that been easy?
It's always challenging, but I think a big part of it is figuring out what you're good at and really focusing on that. And for my role, that's where the milk procurement, I'm used to being out on the farms, used to working with farmers all the time, and it's never ending problem solving. So talking to farmers and helping them to solve their problems, because we need the milk in the creamery. And so that's an ongoing process. Without all the milk, how do you make cheese? So it would have stymied growth, and growth is something that it helps to be able to grow. As time has evolved, when we started out, we made mainly hard cheese because we didn't have enough milk that we could make chev, or much chev. We made a little bit of it, but we've evolved now where we make a very large volume of chev, and that's what's allowed us to get into a lot of places that the hard cheese, it's a different approach on the sales. And the American consumer, from day one, we've had to try to get the American consumer to taste good goat cheese, because there's been a lot of it that hasn't been as good over time. And so we always say try ours. And that's worked out very well because we focus on quality milk. That's given us good cheese. And through the years, that's really made a difference for us.
So quality is
that was
really...
the founding That was the founding principle of our cooperative, was quality milk. And that Larry has, shall I say, led the charge on that, and that really has made a difference in our products.
So it's obviously important. Why do you think it's so important? And do you take it to be as important as your consumers do? The quality.
Oh, definitely. I mean, that's what sets us apart. Anything that we do, we really emphasize the quality aspect.
The thing is, I've always lived under the theory that you can screw things up. You can get 1,000 attaboys, but you can wipe them out with one negative thing happening, because people always remember in the moment and they forget about the 1,000 times they said it was good. So you've got to produce good products every time. And that's something that, it doesn't happen by accident. It happens by everybody on our team focusing on how to do things right, because it's easy to do them wrong. It's harder to do it right. So it takes a lot of focus.
So what is the biggest challenge that you have that, I mean, obviously early on it was probably capital and things like that, but now today where you're sitting, what are some of the big challenges that you guys have to work through on a daily basis?
The challenge of capital never goes away. The world just constantly keeps evolving what you could buy equipment for 20 years ago or 10 years ago compared to what you buy it for today. The change in the wage rates coming through COVID versus where we are today. Getting good people coming to work for you. That comes by a reputation, and everybody in the plant has worked to build that reputation. And I mean, COVID was an insane time for everybody that was involved in a business, and changeover of personnel was astronomical. And that causes so many issues with quality, because everybody has to learn how to do their particular role properly or things don't work. And so it's a constant evolution, and you don't know what tomorrow's going to bring, but you always work towards trying to brainstorm it, and having good people helps a lot, because everybody contributes their thoughts into it, and that's what makes it work.
So what motivates you?
I like to see things succeed, whether it's an employee that has a great day and makes them happy. That's fun. Just in the goat world, there have been so many negative stories that have gone on, that for LaClare to be a positive story is huge. I mean, that makes it fun. Just having people enjoying what they're doing and having the business continue to move forward.
Well, and I would say I have the opportunity to do the events and the tours and making people happy. They get to hold baby goats and they're just plain old happy. And then the quality of the product, to continue to have that out in the forefront, and problem solving. We always are looking at how can we get a healthy food product into the consumer's hand. Right now our focus is on the goat meat. And if you understand 70% of our world's population eats goat meat and drinks goat milk. But if we look at, if you want to dash off to the grocery store, you're not going to be able to find it unless, of course, you go to Salford's Meat Market or LaClare. And so how are we going to get it into that mainstream marketplace? And so that, to me, that is a real challenge. Here we see the population, so we can do that. We've got that backstock, and so moving it into the retail market.
You talk about retail, and when it comes to the goat cheese, you guys have been really successful, it looks like, in distribution through some of these local grocery retailers. Not just local, I mean, they're regional and even beyond that. I'm thinking of Festival, I'm thinking of Pick and Save, and then you've got your cheese into some of these specialty grocery operations like Urban Market here in Neenah. I'd be interested, and I think some of our listeners would be too, because we get a lot of small businesses that just imagine that someday they could get their product on a shelf somewhere, by some substantial retailer. What was distribution through and placement like, getting that into stores like Festival and Pick and Save? How did that happen?
Years of struggle and then success. Finding the right format on how to do it. Right now, we've got some really great people involved in the sales end of it, and that's crucial. But still the main item is you got to have a great product. It's about taste. We can't get it into any retailer unless typically they'll set out a tasting with numerous different cheesemakers products, and they're going to have their staff try it. And if yours isn't at the top of that taste test, you're not going to have a chance. And it doesn't matter if it's cheese or whatever product. You will be evaluated against whoever else is out there. And that's where, when we talk about quality, you lose that, you just don't have anything. And then it comes to quantity also, is you can't leave an empty, or they won't leave an empty shelf. So if you slip up on your supply chain, you're in trouble.
All right. We've hit the perfect spot for our third break and final break of the morning. You're listening to Biztalk with Score on WHBY, and our guests today are Larry and Clara Hedrich. And we'll be right back after these words from sponsors. Welcome back to Biztalk with Score on WHBY. I'm Rick Sense along with Keith Keller today. And Keith, thanks for joining us this morning as one of our hosts. Much appreciated. And our guests this morning have been Larry and Clara Hedrich, and we'll get back to talking with them and wrapping up the show in just a little bit. But before we do that, I'd like to thank the sponsors and donors who bring Biztalk with Score to you each weekend. We couldn't present Biztalk without their generous support. Thank you to Hailing & Associates. Hailing & Associates helps small businesses and individuals not just prepare tax returns, but plan ahead, helping you minimize taxes for this year and beyond. Hailing & Associates, personal connection, positive results. Thank you to Johnson Financial Group. Wherever you are in your life or in the life of your business, Johnson Financial Group works with you to understand your goals, matching the right banking and wealth services to help you complete your mission. Thanks to the Business News for promoting our program in the biweekly business newspaper serving Northeast Wisconsin. The paper is delivered biweekly and contains relevant and useful information about the business community in Northeast Wisconsin. We would also like to recognize the David L. and Rita E. Nelson Fund within the Community Foundation for the Fox Valley region for their generous donation in support of BizTalk and Score Northeast Wisconsin. So, Clara, Larry, where can people go to find out and learn more about all the different enterprises you guys are running?
One of the things, if you just go onto the LaClare Creamery website, we have a listing of all the events that we have coming up. I work with our retail manager, Jesse, to come up with new and different events. And as you attend one of the events, I am the host. And so I will spend time sharing information with you. As you ask questions, I will be happy to talk with you. We do individualized tours. So if you have a tour group that's coming in, we will walk you through our process, answer many of your questions. So agritourism is a very important part of our business because we feel if the consumer understands what we're doing, they're going to be very happy to enjoy our product and ask questions and support us as we move forward.
In the last 2.5 minutes we have, I'm glad you brought up agritourism. Now let's talk about that and education of people and our food source. Can you maybe talk about why that's important to you and Larry?
I think part of it is as our families move further away from agriculture compared to when we were young, it's critical that we get the young people out to understand more about what agriculture is, where the food comes from, how much effort goes into producing safe food, and dispel some of the thought processes that people have that are misconceptions about what farmers do.
We're very adamant about getting the next generation involved in agriculture. We have 13 grandchildren, and so they all have been immersed into the agricultural industry so that they have that understanding. What they decide to move forward on is, entirely up to them. We do different events. This weekend, actually, this Saturday, the fourth Saturday of April, we have Meet Your Local Farmers, so folks can actually get out and meet some of the local farmers within Calumet County. We do tours at LaClare. and as well as here at the KidFarm, we will, meet those people. We have the Calumet County Fair that Larry and I are very much involved with. Again, getting that consumer next to the person producing that food, because my experience has been with our removal, they just do not understand. They have excellent questions, but really have no resources to get that information from.
Well, what perfect timing that we're actually having our episode today that we're broadcasting, and folks can hop in their cars and drive down to Calumet County and go meet their local farmers. So, again, that's a great opportunity for people in the community to get closer to the actual place where their food originates from. Larry, Clara, I want to thank you for being on the show this morning. It's been a very interesting conversation. It's always a great program when we run out of time and not questions. Much appreciate that. Keith, thank you for being a special guest host this week as well. Always great to have you on board. Zach, our producer. Thank you, Zach Morris, for producing our show. And to the listeners, we thank you for tuning in. We wish you well this week and have a great week, and we'll get back in touch with you again next week. Take care.